ThaBoxingvoice.com, live here with Bob Santos. So Bob, the big announcements come. Your champion, WBA champion, 130-pound division, Hector Luis Garcia is going to be defending that title versus his mandatory Lamont Roach Jr. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Good, solid fight, competitive fight. You know, we know Roach is going to be coming. Obviously, the opportunity of a lifetime for him, and I'm sure he'll be prepared just like we're going to be prepared.
Now, what can you tell us about Hector? We haven't seen him since that loss to Tank. How can you reassure us he'll be 100% for November 25th?
We had a great camp. We've been preparing. You know, he's taking care of business. He's doing everything inside and outside the ring that is necessary to be successful. So, you know, I feel confident in my guy, obviously, and we'll be prepared.
How much do you like this style matchup? Do you think Lamont Roach matches up well with Hector?
I think Hector matches up well with any style because of his amateur pedigree. He's had so many fights. You know, he's seen everything under the sun. Obviously, he's here in my gym and sparring with different Olympians, different world champions, and he's had many different looks, obviously. So we'll be prepared.
If he gets past this win, I know you match make well. We know you want Barrios and Earl Spence. What do you want for Hector next?
Well, I mean, we'll have to see. You know, see if there's an opportunity at 35. Maybe there's a possibility, an opportunity to go up to 40. Whatever's biggest and best for him, because obviously, you know, at a certain point he's become a world champion. You know, you've been in a pay-per-view with Gervonta Davis. They broke the all-time record out there in Washington, D.C. Nobody's ever done what they did in that fight in the indoor arena. So I think his name's out there. People know him. He's won a world title, and at this point, we want to be in the biggest, best possible fight, and that's at 35, 30, or 40.
Well, being as though you said 30, did you see O'Shaquie Foster and
we've seen
Edward Rocky Hernandez? And what do you think about a unification with O'Shaquie Foster and Hector Garcia?
No problem. One thing about Hector, he's proven, right? He took Chris Colbert on 2.5 weeks' notice. We took Gutierrez on less than 4 weeks' notice. We jumped up to 35 and fought the best 35-pounder, one of the biggest killers in the sport, right? So what does that tell you about Hector Luis Garcia? He take on all comers. He's not ducking, dodging. Same thing like we talked about with Mario Barrios, one of my other guys. We're not ducking and dodging. And so if the opportunity's there, and that's what the fans want to see, bring it on.
How's the fight play out with he and O'Shaquie for that unification, WBA, WBC? How do you see that fight playing out?
Well, obviously, again, I like my guy. I like Hector Garcia. You know, I think we fought the better competition. No two ways about it. He had a great win with Ray Vargas. Ray Vargas ain't no Gervonta Davis. You know that, and I know that. I don't think Ray Vargas is nowhere near even what Gutierrez is at 130, right? Because he's a small guy. So, again, I like the fight. We wouldn't be underestimating him. And obviously, he won a world title. Just had that great performance, which is great for boxing. And my hat's off to him and what he did for the sport of boxing and putting it on the line like that. But obviously, I feel confident in Hector Luis Garcia.
What's your thoughts on that particular fight specifically, and the fact that it was open scoring, giving O'Shaquie the opportunity to know that he was down and decide, man, I got to go for gusto to get this win or lose my belt? What's your thoughts on open scoring in fights, and should we adapt that universally?
Well, I mean, you never know 100%. The open scoring, I guess, can be good to some degrees, but I kind of have the feeling that his corner had to know that he was down. So I think, regardless in that situation, they would have had to know he was down, that he was going to have to pick it up and turn it up. Obviously, they knew 100%, but that being said, I mean, it has its pluses and its minuses. But I think as a good corner guy, you got to score the rounds. You got to kind of have an understanding. We all understand that sometimes rounds are subjective, but for the most part, I think you have an understanding. If you've been in this game long enough and you've been in the corner many times, you should have an understanding where you're at in the fight.
So obviously there's been a lot of reports of David Morrell being avoided. Senna Adveko allegedly didn't take the fight. I know you work with Morrell in some capacity. Are we going to get an opponent for him? They're saying Minneapolis on December 16th. Are we getting an opponent? And if so, who do you think steps up to the plate?
You know,
who would you like to step up to the plate?
Well, we wanted that Benavidez fight, obviously. We'd love the Canelo fight, obviously. That being said, Louis DeCubas Jr., I'm sure he's going to come up with somebody. You know, he's one of the best in the business. So he'll bring somebody to the table. But it has been, you know, very difficult. I talk to David, you know, often. And it's kind of disheartening because he's willing to fight everybody and nobody's really willing to fight him. Oh, he doesn't have enough fights, he doesn't have this. But, I mean, look, he passed the eye test, and everybody knows that. So when you're talking about physicality, the attributes that he has, he's like a Roy Jones. Nobody has the attributes that he has at 68. So realistically, nobody's really going to want to step in the ring with him, and until somebody does, you know, he's going to have to keep plugging away and see what's available. But at this point in time, I can see why nobody want to get in the ring with him.
Now, I know fighters that are with Al or with Louis usually have a plan and don't really go outside the box. But what's your thoughts with a fight with Morrell and Christian Mabili? He's making a lot of noise at 68. I'm pretty sure he's #1 in the WBO and highly ranked in the WBA. Have you seen him? And it would be obviously Rodney Shields, Bob Santos going up against Mark Ramsey.
Well, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's better than David Morrell Jr. at 168 pounds. Yeah, I think he could go up to 75 and clean the house out there too. He's a tremendous, tremendous athlete. I've said it a couple different times, and like I said, if he wasn't boxing, he'd be a safety for the New York Giants. He'd be a center fielder for the New York Yankees or a wide receiver for the Cowboys. His athleticism second to none. And then with his pedigree and all the amateur experience that he has, I mean, he's just different, and he is a special, special talent.
What's it going to take for him to become a household name? He never really had a Cuban on the limelight outside of Casamayor.
Well, you know what? The thing about David Morrell is he can fight on the front foot. He can fight on the back foot. He could do a lot of things. You know, he's a shark. He can go out there and when he smells the blood, he's going to go out and finish you like he did with Adios, like he just did in this past co-feature with the Brazilian kid on the Gervonta Davis. You can see what kind of guy he is. So he's not a typical Cuban that'll fight on the back foot. So I think people will endure themselves to him. All he needs is the opportunity to either fight a Benavidez, fight a Caleb Plant, fight one of those type of guys that has a good name. And once they see him in there with that type of name, people are going to realize, wow, he's different. He's different.
Switching gears to your welterweight, Mario Barrios. There's been reports that Jaron Ennis could have been on this November 25th card. He couldn't find an opponent. I know you and I did an interview a couple of weeks ago. You made it clear that Barrios would fight anyone. Did they send you an offer for Barrios to fight you?
You know, I never got anything. I don't think that we would have been able to turn it around probably that quick after we had a long camp to get ready for Ugas. So, you know, we don't ever want to bullshit the fans out there. It would have been a quick turnaround. So that's something we probably wouldn't have been able to do at that time. But that being said, with preparation, now moving forward, anytime Jaron Ennis, Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford, any of those guys, Stanionis, Virgil Ortiz, yeah, Keith Thurman. Well, you see Barrios is a whole different fighter right now. Now he's comfortable in the weight class, and I think if he was to fight Thurman right now, everybody could see it would be a whole different ball game than what it was that first fight.
For sure, for sure. So, what is your thoughts on a Boots Ennis versus Luke Santamaria? Is that not a good enough fight for Boots?
I think, again, we don't want to bullshit the fans. At this point, Boots is kind of in a situation like David Morrell, right? Maybe he's too good for his own good. And what, in my opinion, what he needs, what the sport needs, he needs to fight the best, right? It's enough of what he's done. You're 30-something fights now. You need to fight a Keith Thurman. You need to fight a Terrence Crawford. You need to fight an Earl Spence. You need to fight a Mario Barrios. He needs a signature win to put that stamp on that, hey, I am at this level and look what I can do with these types of guys. Until then, I mean, I think he's just, you know, floating in the wind.
Well, Bob, I know you got a couple of heavyweights in here. I want to give you the opportunity to give them some shine if they got anything cooking or, you know, exactly who we need to be watching out for.
Well, definitely, you know, we got Eric Ruiz Cordova. So hopefully he'll be on a fight sooner rather than later, maybe on the 15th or something like that out there at Caribe Royale with the Dazn. We'll see how that plays out. If something could come together, And then obviously we got Danier, and you're going to hear it for the first time on this podcast. His new name, his new moniker, it's Danier the Fear Hero. He be coming to you live, you know, December 16th on that Showtime card. And again, once again, Danier the Fear Hero. That's his new moniker. You're the first one that's heard that. You will see. He's another one though too. People see him and you send offers and you send this and that, and we have so many people turn that guy down. It's very difficult to get him fights.
Now, when you're trying to match him, what are we looking for? Because I know he's Cuban, so he could be trying to jump the rankings. What sort of opponents is on the menu for him?
Well, I'll give you an example. When his brother fought was it Frost, I think it is. I can't pronounce the name exactly. But when his brother fought him, we were the backup for that. So if his brother couldn't go, Danier was going to take that fight. So we would have stepped up and fought him. But so he's ready for all comers, and we'll have to see what Louis DeCubas Jr. has planned for him, or Al, and see what's in the works. But to tell you, we were ready to take that fight if his brother, for whatever reason, something happened, he got hurt an injury, we would have took that fight.
Do you think that Mike Polite Coffee would take that fight? Is that a fight you're looking at, or are you looking for someone ranked above him?
At this point right now, we're going to have to take whatever the best opportunity that they present us with. If it's him, then that's what we'll take. If it's, like I said, Frost, because, you know, before with his brother, then that's what we'll take. So he's ready to take on all comers, and he's another guy. He got a great amateur pedigree, works hard, and he won't be ducking and picking and choosing. He'll be ready to go. So we just got to get that opportunity.
And last but not least, Luis Nunez, 126, correct? Featherweight.
Yeah.
When do we get to see him? Featherweight division is active.
You know what? Again, hopefully sooner rather than later. Hopefully by the beginning of the year, we'll have something locked in stone for him. As of this point right now, he's another one that it seems we've got a lot of these guys in my stable that might be too good for their own good, right? So that's another case in point with him. Hopefully something will come to the forefront in the beginning of the year. He's working hard. He's ready. So let's just see what his promoter, Samson Lekovich, can put together, and we go from there.
All right, Cliff. Well, thank you again. Let everybody know where they can find you.
At Bob Santos Boxing. Let's go, baby.
Family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content, or right here on our YouTube members.